they think that the tail is a connection to the Nine Hells, and so most of the Tieflings I met back at Kiska had theirs lopped off.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I remember seeing the girl. I didn't think at the time that she didn't have a tail. Huh. Odd.
Did I not? Okay.
Yeah.
You walk up into the store. It's not exactly a store as such, but the building does dispense goods, foods, clothing to the slaves who work in the village. So you could purchase things here if you wanted, but I mean, the selection's not great. I mean, you're looking dry goods, clothing, and it's more expensive than you're probably accustomed. You're not going to find anything of real value. But you walk into the store, and a young man, one of the Udok slaves, is stocking some of the shelves, and he looks brightly at you as you walk in, very amused at your strange height and demeanor. And as you come in, he says, "Well met, little friend. Would you like a lolly?"
Zook would love a lolly, actually.
What does Zook say?
He says, I don't think sorry, let me try that again. I think I will take a lolly, my good man.
And as you
And he
speak,
walks over to him.
Zook is so cheerful.
as you speak, he kind of seems surprised that you're not a child. But he still goes behind the counter, and he gets a little piece of stick candy, sugared sweet, and he hands it across to you.
How deep is Zook's voice?
It's pretty squeaky.
But it doesn't sound like a child's, and Zook doesn't carry himself as a child. So after he opened his mouth, the guy realized his error, and he apologizes. "I'm sorry, my little friend. I didn't realize. We don't see many dwarves in this area."
Womp womp.
I was hoping he was going to say Zook's voice is deep as shit.
Right under the table.
Yeah, Zook has actually got a very white voice. Yeah, it's pretty squeaky. Zook is pretty affable, and he'll actually explain that he's actually a forest gnome from far away.
At the word gnome, you see, there's no recognition on this young man's face at all.
Zook just kind of hand waves in and says, similar to dwarves, but a little but, me, I'm a gnome.
Did you come from the Far East?
About, yes.
No, the forest.
The forest. I was going to Abbott and Costello it for a minute. Yeah.
He says, well, it's... So you responded, yeah? You are...
More or less, is what Zook says.
It's been an exciting month in the village for travelers from your parts. Lady Ironglove staying at the Mug. Do you know her?
Not personally acquainted. Of course, I've heard of her.
And he nods with approval.
Do you happen to know what business she has in town?
And he shakes his head and says, "Just passing through, I suppose. She's been staying here about a week. Haven't had the pleasure of speaking to her myself."
Does she travel alone?
He nods.
Interesting.
And at this point, a woman walks into the store. And she has very, very dark red hair, like a maroon color of hair. And you see horns on the front of her head. But unlike Orphan's, which come way out and curve backwards, hers are very short and flat on her forehead. And she walks in, and as soon as the door opens and the young man sees her, he snaps to attention to her. Say, Lady Misnerith, have you met our little friend from the Far East? And the woman looks down and regards you, and isn't quite sure what to make of you.
Does she say anything to me, or just look at me?
She does not. In fact, she looks at you, kind of expecting you to say something.
Well met, Lady... What'd you say, Lady Misnerith?
Misnerith.
Misnerith. Well met, Lady Misnerith. My name is Zook.
Yes, Zook. And then she turns back up to the boy. This is...
Black kind of noble.
I've forgotten his name. Hanhar. Hanhar, have those blankets been finished yet? And he shakes his head. No, I'm afraid they haven't. I'll see to it, though. And then he immediately goes in through a back door into another part of the building. And at that, Misnerith goes around to where he was stocking on the shelves. And she begins taking the objects off the shelves that he had put on and putting them in a different place. And she does this for a few moments before she says, "And what is it you're looking for, Zook?"
At the moment, nothing in particular. Just checking out the wares of this market.
And she looks at you. She asks, "Did you pay for that stick candy?" He's like, "Fuck! I wasn't even trying to steal today."
Yeah, seriously. I can't imagine this is more than a gold piece, and I'll say I was intending to before I left.
She says, "Well, they're 2 for a copper."
All right. No, I pull out a copper and I hand it to her, and I thank her for her business.
And she assumes you've already eaten the first one, so she puts the copper in the drawer.
It's a fake, a magic coin anyhow. So
she goes back to restocking the shelves. It looks like she's undoing Hanhar's work and redoing it.
Zook pulls out a gold piece and says, "I'll buy all the kid."
Okay. It's just she's just rearranging the work here.
Yeah, unless you need something else from her.
Zook wants to make friends. Why not? Zook offers. Are you the owner of this establishment?
She says, "My father's the owner of the village."
Oh, that's very interesting.
She says, "Most people know that when they arrive."
Well, I'm not from around here. I'm not from anywhere near here. Hey, good talk. I think Zook's done here, unless she has something. She clearly is not interested in Zook.
She is not. Very much not.
And it sounds like there's not really anything else of interest in town, so Zook's gonna move on.
Okay. Back at the mug, Orphan's not there, Tarin's not there, and Eldove's not there.
Oh, okay.
Arik
That's
and
accurate.
Khalil are both there. Arik, as far as a holy symbol goes, what do you wear?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of trappings do you wear of Osprem?
It's an amulet of Orphan.
But it's like visible. You're not hiding it in any
Yes,
way.
It is most certainly visible.
A woman walks into the inn. A Tiefling woman. She has. They look like they would be naturally pointed horns, but she has filed them down so as not to accidentally stab people in the face. She has white hair and very, very pale skin. And she's carrying a staff. And the head of the staff is a metallic sigil that you recognize. The god Bokob, a god of magic in your pantheon. And as soon as she steps in, you recognize 2 things right away. First, you recognize the sigil. And second, you see this is the first Tiefling other than Orphan that you've seen since you came to Romneus. And you came quite some time ago to Kiska, who has a tail.
Huh.
And as soon as she enters, she looks across the room, and her face brightens a little bit when she sees a follower of Osprem. And she starts heading over your way.
Yeah.
She says, "Good afternoon, my brother of Osprem. How does the day find you?"
Fine, pretty well. And how are you?
She says, "Very well. What brings you to these parts? You're far from the ocean."
Yes. I am traveling with some companions.
Is Khalil still down here?
Yeah.
Okay. Eldove's not here. Eldove, go away. Eldove, you're in the way.
You're welcome to move, Eldove.
Next time I'm going to delete you.
Don't delete it, Eldove.
Delete Eldove.
Eldove has a scroll of pedigree.
Yeah, she says, "You're very far from the ocean."
Yes. I've come traveling with some companions to this little village in the middle of. I don't say that part. I've come traveling with some companions to this village.
She looks over at Khalil, and then back at you. She says, "Well met, both of you." She says, "I'm known as Poem."
Poem.
Oh. I'm Arik, and this is Khalil.
She nods.
Pleasure.
And she sits down at a table nearby, looks over to the counter, says, "I'll take my meal now." And The keeper behind the counter nods. Very well. Gets to work arranging a plate, crust of bread, wad of cheese, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And she looks over at Khalil. Did you change your clothing or armor at all since leaving Kiska?
Well, normally in Kiska he'd be wearing, all the trappings, but this he's just got the armor which has the emblem of the guild.
And she recognizes it. She says, "A man of Kiska, you too are far away from the ocean."
Indeed.
She says, "I'm intrigued."
Bit of an extended detached assignment for the guild.
And you can see her curiosity is not sated, but she presses you no more questions. She goes ahead and eats her meal. And at this point, Eldove and Tarin and Orphan arrive.
Okay.
And like I said earlier, there's a couple of guardsmen who enter and leave periodically. Slaves in and out, enjoying their meal or a beer in the middle of the day.
Tarin will get the breakfast from the room and sit down with the rest of his companions.
Okay. So meals are brought out for anybody who hasn't eaten yet.
What kind of food?
So I dig in.
Crust of bread, hunk of meat, wad of cheese. This is not fine eating. You're not on Gordon fucking Ramsay. You're in the middle of nowhere.
This is Guy Fieri.
Sky Fury. Oh my god.
Don't say that. That's not right.
It's like, you guys gotta try the deep fried chili cheese curds at Doc Middley's mug. I only vomited 4 times. It's like, oh, that's righteous. Fucking hate that show. Anyway, we're playing D&D, I thought.
Yeah, D&D.
Orphan, this too is the first Tiefling you've seen since you've arrived here that has a tail. Which may very well be the first Tiefling you've ever met with a tail.
Right, definitely. The other one. So I just like stare in shock at a second before I go and walk over to her.
And she notices as you approach, and the look on her face is very curious indeed as you come. As she turns to Arik. She's another of your companions.
Yes. This one, her name is Orphan.
She says, "Ah, and suddenly your purpose is clear." She looks back at Orphan.
It is?
I say, greetings. I'm called Orphan. May I know your name?
She says, "I'm Poem. I too was attracted to this place, being the only village of Tieflings in the area."
That's exactly what brought me here.
She nods.
Where did you come from?
She's very far away. And she looks over at Arik. She's across the ocean, in southern Tetlateus. And she's very clearly a priestess. Like, she's very clearly has religious adornments. And she has a staff. And the sigil at the top of the staff, I looked up what it's supposed to be, but I don't remember now. I'll look it up again.
It's a book with an eye.
Ooh, yeah, excellent, good. A book with an eye is at the top of her
I
staff.
think that's Bokob.
I shoot the
I'm
eye
like
in the middle with an arrow.
sure.
A book with an eye?
Yes.
I'm like
Sorry, I've been playing a lot of
90% sure
Majora's
on that.
Mask.
It's a tome with an eye in the center of it.
Okay, I heard that right. Okay. Neat.
I'm gonna mind link to Arik. Anything she's a priestess. Anything I should know about the god?
Bokob is a god of knowledge and magic, and his followers, like one of their tenets is they spread out over the world to gain knowledge, to increase the power of their brotherhood.
Is it okay if I refer to him as vocab?
No. In fact, if you do that, I'm really going to delete your character. Like, where are you even at? I thought you were here. Eldove, you're in the wrong spot again.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's an
you're
eye
supposed to
within
be
a
over here.
pentagram, not an eye within a book.
I like the book better. Let's go with the book.
I do too.
I relay all of that information.
Okay.
Does that make
Still
it
freaked
trustworthy?
out. Just still a little freaked out about the mind link thing. Since no one still hasn't quite explained it to me, but I get it.
As far as trustworthy goes, amongst the pantheon that you're familiar with, there are priests that run the gamut. Good, evil, selfless, selfish, self-interested. Some of them bring joy to the world, some of them bring pain. It really depends. In your own order of the Order of Osprem, you know of chaotic and evil priests who use their ability to spread the wild sea inland. You know, they create tempests and like get sharks riled up and send them upriver and all kinds of crazy stuff. So it can really go either way with the gods in your pantheon.
Get sharks riled up.
Yeah. Okay. Have you ever fought a riled up shark? Sharknado? Oh my god, he could totally make a Sharknado. Anyway.
Oh, that has to happen.
I don't know if you played the expansion to Diablo 3, but that's the new Witch Doctor Ultimate.
Oh goodness. Anyway,
It's a Sharknado. That's pretty amazing.
as far as whether or not this woman is trustworthy, the answer would be you can't determine that just knowing she's a priestess of Bakum.
Okay. That was over the mind link to Arik.
That's fine. Eventually your brain's gonna melt from all this mind leaking and just ooze out of your ears.
Yeah.
That's gonna happen anyway.
So Poem asks you, so are you related to the Udocs?
I say no. I met the son and daughter during our stay in Kiska.
She says, and you come from...
They told me the plantation, and I thought I might try my luck here.
She looks at how you're dressed. Says, do you hail from one of the monasteries?
I studied at the monastery of the Weaving Mother. You'd probably not have heard of it. I don't think it's on this plane.
She shakes her head and says, I've not heard of it. And at the mention of it's not on this plane, she kind of looks at you confused. So what do you mean? Not on this plane.
So I'll explain to her briefly about how I was taken at sea by a necromancer who had been collecting people from different dimensions.
Is that exactly what you say?
Briefly.
That is exactly what I say.
Okay. And at this, you now have the attention of everybody in the room. There's a couple of guardsmen in here. There are several slaves. You have the attention of the proprietor. Not the proprietor, he's a friggin' slave too, but the innkeeper and one of his daughters who was in the room. And they're all looking at you very intently, especially Poem.
Would you, at this point I'll pull out a spare chair around our table. Would you care to join us? Here's a bit more of the tale.
And most of the people move a little closer.
Obviously, specifically, offering it to the priest.
Oh, Poem's already sitting at their table. Poem sat down with them to eat her meal.
Oh, at our table?
You guys weren't here when Poem got here. You guys,
Yeah.
your table. It's their table. You're sitting at their table.
Yeah.
I thought we were at different tables. My fault.
But God damn,
like our table.
Any
point is
table
we're all
Eldove is
thinking
sitting at
table.
becomes his
Okay.
table.
So, go through the story. First of all, who's telling it?
I started
Where's
it, so I guess
Fred?
I'll finish it. Yeah,
Fred?
Fred's not here, unfortunately.
Back at the ship.
We cannot rely on Fred for his storytelling abilities.
Tarin will embellish a bit here and there. Not a lot, but
Yeah,
we'll
with this stuff, yeah.
step in.
Some of it Orphan wasn't there for, so.
Yeah, and he'll often go off into tri-raids about multiple dimensional, non-dimensional spaces versus interdimensional spaces, finding ways to work them into the conversation.
So, who's telling the story? Orphan?
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you tell them?
So I tell them about, that's how it started. I tell them about the encounter on the island before we reached Kiska, and I tell them about meeting the Udocs. I kind of leave out the parts about how neither of them wanted anything to do with us. I leave out the parts about Adric's death.
Well, when you mention Amshun and Nanis, Poem interrupts for a moment.
Okay.
She says, how are the twins? Are they faring
seem to be
well?
doing well. Yeah, they're doing well. Nanis just enrolled in a new study of that the university or that the School of Senses is offering.
She nods approvingly. She says, you should bring news to their uncle, Roxy's. He'll be glad to hear of it.
Where does he live?
My pizza's here, so we're taking a break.
Okay.
Sweet.
He
He
lives
lives at the pizza place.
at the Pizza Hut.
Yep. Guys, I'm going to put Elizabeth on the screen,
Okay.
and we're going to,
I guess it means I can open up chat while Brickroad's shoving his face.
take a 10-15 minute break, and when we come back, we will finish up this conversation at the end. Where's
I'll live
Elizabeth?
with an eye in it. That sounds pretty Elizabeth.
I'm
Where's
gonna
Elizabeth?
make a sandwich.
The first thing I see is Ventru saying, has Dole died yet? I was like, what?
No, but Traeger has died 3 times now.
Traeger's got Dro like Toonces the cat.
We've been trying.
Hey chat, how's it going? Yeah, you guys are like holding court at the tavern, and freaking Duke's just walking around town, being a gnome.
Maybe we should cut down on that.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm trying to find some trouble to get into. If there's anything worth stealing in this town that's not going to hurt anybody, I'm going to steal it.
It's gonna hurt
We don't know
us.
this man. We don't know this gnome.
Alright, I'm gonna make a sandwich. I'll be right back.
Please don't steal anything in front of the priest. Please.
If he gets his hand chopped off,
If
that's
I-
fine. Whatever.
If I steal something, it won't be in front of anybody. Thank you, Bonky.
Hey, howdy, Seki Bunky.
What's up? I'm not gonna open chat.
No?
No.
What a jerk.
Yep.
Spinning Coin says there's no colon in this town. Lame. No kid going, this is Eudoc's village. I feel so good.
I feel so safe.
Yeah.
Eudoc's walls used to make me feel so safe.
What walls? There don't appear to be any walls here.
They're magic. You wouldn't have heard of him.
Oh, okay.
Magic high five.
Mage Hand 5.
Yeah, we're gonna Mage Hand 5.
You realize my Mage Hand is just a otherworldly massive tentacles, right?
Ew.
It's
That's
okay.
not
it's
a
not making
hand.
contact with this real arm anyway.
I think I should be insulted for the other McDohl because Seki Bunky didn't say other McDohl heart.
So should we be clear here? Which
Yes, he
McDohl
did.
is other McDohl?
Isn't Taverol other, or maybe not? Is that
Yeah,
somebody else in
Taverol's
chat?
the other McDohl.
There's Heart.
Oh, Taverol, okay. Anyway, so how Chad, how you liking it so far?
What are they saying? What are they saying?
You're not listening to chat. You don't get to
Do
know.
they like me?
Only Seki Bunky likes you.
That's enough.
That's all I need.
That's all I wanted. That's all I'm doing this for. It's the approval of Sekibanki.
Venture doesn't care about Taverol.
I think I need to get Armor of Agathis back if I'm going to keep being the front line.
Yeah, I vote for
Khalil
that.
would be
The one
but
time you used it was
he's
really
still, like,
entertaining. So
It was the
two
thing was
levels
it was
below
it,
everyone else.
It doesn't. It scales really well. So at this point, it's actually a lot of hit points and a stupid amount of cold damage.
Are you
Wait,
like-
is that the armor that gives you false life?
It's better than False Life. It's 5 hit points per spell level and 5 cold damage per spell level. And my spell slots are automatically all 4th, and they'll be 5th next level. Like,
Basically, what I'm
2
asking you
sessions.
is it going to make Brick really angry every time
No,
you
because it
mention
takes
that you have
resources
max?
to use. No, it takes resources to use it, and it's not a dice roll.
Oh, okay.
That was the thing. The thing with the False Life was I could just literally do it as an action, and that was the only cost.
Here's my question. How are you mystically deciding that you didn't have max hit points on your roll?
What do you mean?
Like, how did you know that you didn't have max hit points when you rolled it the first time?
I'm not sure what. Oh! I just said I would keep. What? Huh?
Well, I'm just saying, how does your character know you didn't have max hit points?
I don't know. It feels different. Stab myself a little, see how much it feels like it takes out. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have had a problem if Brick had said, like, you don't know how many hit points you get from it. But if he did that, he'd have to track it himself secretly, so.
Here's the deal, Salasha.
You're an asshole.
Yes, I am. No, I mean, if you had a legitimate problem
That's
with it, I would've
really
gone with it.
good.
What
That's
would be
really
the only
good.
thing that could make Brickwood more angry than like munchkinning the false life would be making him track it.
That's really good. Oh, man.
No, I mean, like I said, if he had actually said that, that was out of character information that my character would have known, that'd be fine, but the way magic works, I figure I know that much. I am trained in Arcana.
I'm not. I don't know shit about Arcana.
It's okay, our priest isn't trained in religion either.
Listen, I'm a sorcerer. I'm really good at insulting people and
No,
persuading them to my way of
It
thinking.
makes total sense for sorcerers not to be trained in Arcana. I actually, when I house ruled my old 3E games, I took it off their skill list.
Yeah, how dumb is it that I don't know anything? That's
It's
kinda
really dumb.
It's pretty
really
dumb.
ridiculous. But it's a completely different stat.
So what is the like reasoning behind that? Like, did you like go to like fucking religion sea god like tech school or something.
Yeah, I saw this commercial on late night TV about.
Did you go to like fucking DeVry?
He grew up a sailor first. He wasn't a priest until later.
DeVry Technical School of
Priestliness.
Divinity.
Yeah.
DeVrithing tentacles. That's where Tarin went.
DeVrithing tentacles.
So I just made
Brick makes a good point. He's in the stream chat.
Oh.
I mean, for what it's worth, they're definitely in this world because that was Fred's idea. There's no reason they shouldn't be in the campaign.
Why is everybody assuming that I died? Why is
Again.
this?
Again.
Well, I mean, on that time when we went to the pyramid, how many times did you go down to 0?
That is true. I did go down to 0 quite a bit. Ba-ba-ba-ba-da-bum. I'm still amused by the Lucas icon here. Yeah, Seven Toes. It is bad luck
What did he say?
to rename a ship. And they've done it twice. Thanks, Destil.
What did Destil say?
No, I was saying thanks, Destil, for renaming the ship twice.
Oh, right. And there are women on it. Just bad luck all around.
The Flumph's honor.
The Flumph's honor. The friendly Aedric.
Well,
Oh,
once we actually
the thing
meet
that Nodal and I were laughing at earlier was every time Brick was saying that the hyenas were yipping, we were hearing hyenas yipping.
I sent
thought it
I
was
sent
yipping?
Nick
Yeah.
the message. You hear barking and yiffing sounds, and then the next time he said it, I just heard Nick in the background snickering, and I was really
Nick,
happy.
I told somebody your story about the Persona 4, the fox sounds and stuff.
Oh, right, yeah.
I told a friend of mine that story, and he started laughing his ass off.
Oh yeah, and then the next time he said it was like something like, "You hear a lot of noise. You hear a lot of yiffing going on up there." And I was just like, "Oh no! Oh, I'm
Oh,
going
is
to
that what
jail."
you were giggling at? I completely didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
There's a lot of
lot of-
yipping going on in the
Yep.
desert.
there's a lot of yiffing.
a lot of yipping, huh?
We stumbled upon a couple of giants, a pack of gnolls, a fur convention.
Yeah, it's a furry convention.
Man, going to Atlanta's rough.
Hmm?
Pack of the Giants, a bunch of gnolls, a furry convention.
There's a furry convention right the weekend before PAX usually. There's a furry convention in town.
Oh, in Atlanta?
Yeah. And if you're just downtown, you're just gonna see them. Like they do not stay at the convention. They wander around in costume. It's pretty wild.
Why wouldn't you?
Well, because it's Atlanta.
Oh,
Which
I
is
guess it would be
weird
really hot.
because-
Well, but it's March, right?
No, I'm talking about no, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about because like Atlanta's weird because like there is totally like the super liberal like crunchy nougat center of Atlanta, and it's also like the deep south.
Right.
Oh, you have the same thing in Houston.
Yeah,
Houston,
yeah.
Texas is
I
the
mean,
same.
it's the
Is the same way.
You have the same thing here. I mean, the city itself is pretty reasonable because it's a college town, but if you go out anywhere in the boonies,
Destil, I think it even says somewhere in the player's handbook that if you're a warlock, sometimes your patron's going to be a dick.
yeah, no.
That's just a thing a GM can pull out.
Yeah.
Yeah, the main thing is I prefer it to be an unknowable entity, so I don't really want to define it. Like we can give it a good, impressive sounding name or anything, but I don't really feel the need to define it. It should be something beyond human comprehension, so we don't need to really go into any specific detail.
You cannot comprehend the true form of Blinkety Blink's attack.
Do you learn all invocations that you can,
What do you mean?
Destil? Like, if you have the ability to learn an invocation, do you learn it, or do you learn a certain amount of invocations?
You learn a certain amount. You learn, I think, basically one every other level for a while. It maxes out eventually, and then some of them are level capped. And then every level you can always trade out an old invocation for a new one.
So I was just gonna say, in that case, I think Eldritch Spear might be literally the worst thing that I've ever seen.
It's pretty bad.
When are you ever gonna be like 150 feet? That's not far enough, but 300.
Yeah. The one that actually adds a push effect to the Eldritch Blast, I might pick up because I have these zones that suck now.
Yeah, I was thinking if we hadn't finished off the giants as fast.
Oh, you can push people. Oh no, that was Adric who could throw people around.
No, but if you hadn't lost your concentration, I was gonna. I have a push attack.
Oh, you have your air fist. That's right. Yeah.
Actually, Khalil also has a trip attack, and so he would have knocked people down. If,
do they have to roll when they're forced in there, though?
All right, where were we?
It's when they enter.
Do any of you chumps learn invisible?
Because I thought there was specifically a rule that
I was
you don't
about
have
to, but then you found that amulet, so.
Well, that's true.
More armor Vagathis for me.
All right,
That's true. I need to start abusing that amulet.
pizza's
Nodal
gone.
could learn improved. I
Pizza
can't.
is gone?
unfortunately.
Pizza's gone.
I'm not gonna blow a
should,
spot of
rectify
invisibility.
Hey, I think you could take off the more F and Null's initiative.
Well,
You're probably right.
It's been nice just for me to remember the characters' names.
Yeah.
Because I don't have them written down like I
It's
usually
bad.
do.
Okay,
Well, I'll write them down.
so speaking with poem, where did we leave the conversation before Pizza?
We were
so
in the middle of
rudely
the
interrupted?
story. I would point out that Tarin actually would stop and introduce the story of Adric's death because it affected him to some degree. Like he takes a very long swig from his flask.
We haven't gotten to that part of the story yet. We were at the
Okay.
part where she had met Amshun and Nanis,
Okay.
and
Oh,
Poem
right.
stopped
she was
them.
talking about the uncle.
She said, "Yeah, you should give news that they're doing well to their uncle Rolxes."
Okay.
He says he lives in a cottage amidst the densest part of the woods.
Oh, so he's the guy who lives out here in the crazy,
I'm not sure.
crazy part of the town.
I'll go deliver that information to her later on.
She said, "Well, he'll be glad to hear it. They were very close."
I say where.
Hmm?
I asked her where.
He says, "Well, yeah, they left for school."
Oh, okay.
Is there no? Is this place too isolated to get letters back and forth?
And she kind of shakes her head and says, "The children haven't written."
Orphan lets out a silent sigh of relief.
And at this point, in the silence, some other people in the inn are kind of egging you on to continue with the story.
Oh, okay. So after that, and we talk about how we went from Kiska. I talk about the assassination, which I knew about, and I leave Tarin to fill in. Oh, he wasn't there either. I leave Eldove
Khalil.
to fill in the parts about the pyramid and things.
And as you regale the people with tales of your adventures, and let's be clear, at least half the people in the room aren't believing you. They're just thinking it's a good tale that you're spinning. But you have their rapt attention for a little while, and as the story ends, there's some nodding and approval. They seem to look on you approvingly. If nothing else, you've entertained them for the afternoon. So what are the goals for the rest of the afternoon?
Let's see. I'm gonna invite. I asked Poem if she would mind speaking privately.
And she kind of looks at you
Done.
a little quizzically. I mean, do you ask this in front of everybody? You ask this loudly?
No, not loudly. Just once the story's died and everyone dies down and everyone is kind of back to their own conversation.
And may I inquire why?
I have something to ask you about. Well, and I flick my eyes toward her tail.
And she kind of chuckles. Oh, that. Says, well, go ahead, ask.
All right, so I'll kind of is there like a corner of the bar where we can go?
She does not look like she has any intention of going anywhere private with you.
Okay. So I'll just ask her. I say, I wasn't aware of the custom because Shin and Nice were the first two Tieflings other than myself I'd ever met, but it wasn't heard of where I come from on my dimension for the tail removal. That didn't happen, and I'm curious, and it's caused me no end of grief since I came here. Things like you told about this.
I mean, when you were telling the story, did you tell the part about the crazy old men and the bone saw? Like, did that?
I left that part out.
Okay.
Because I wanted to talk to her about that. It's like,
Okay.
Yeah, crazy old guys.
Incident with
The bone saw was pretty
bone
good.
saw and this order. But how have you escaped so far?
Which is easily. I wasn't born in Romneus. I come from the wooded lands across the ocean.
So this is not a universal thing all over this world, the tail removal.
She shakes her head and says, very much not. She says, when I first arrived here, people looked upon me with suspicion and worse, but I've made a place for myself in this town. A Tiefling can do that now and again. Find some respect.
I nod to her. I'm glad to hear that. That's been one thing that I've been lacking in my journeys through this world so far.
But I must ask, how many people have you lit on fire with your mind since you've been here? Because no.
What about the people he lit on fire with his fists?
So she says, so I'm still not relatively clear. You say you're from one of the monasteries up in the mountains,
Yes.
but not from the ones in Tetliteus.
No.
And she's,
As I said,
I'm afraid I don't understand.
So, we were taken. There was some ritual that the necromancer that I spoke of was casting. He was flitting about from world to world. And
She says, yes, I heard the story, but that's what What do you mean, world to world?
Is this in front of Tarin?
Yeah, everybody's still there. As far as I know.
Alright, and he's gonna look around. Is there an onion in the room?
Do you ask?
Oh god,
No,
don't
I'm
let
just
him get
looking.
the onion.
I want to. Do you ask for an onion out loud?
No, I'm looking. Is there one that I can see?
Not handy, no.
Oh, excuse me, can I get an onion?
And
Minor
Let's
illusion
not
and
be
onion.
one of the young girls kind of. Would you like me to fry it, sir?
No,
Would you like it cooked?
raw is fine. This is more for illustration than anything.
You eat them raw?
Oh,
Use the
She
onion
says-
illustration, Tarin.
And she says, well, that's as queer as a Tiefling with a tail. And she goes in the back. A few moments later, yeah, she comes back with this onion. And she says, I cut off a part that had the rot. She sets it down on the table.
Beautiful. I'll
And she
tip her a copper.
serves it to you on like a little plate with a
Yeah,
with a
that's
knife.
fine. I tip her a copper. I take out my packed blade and I slice it in half.
Okay.
Imagine that the world was one of these layers, and I'll peel it about halfway through and pull out one of the layers of the onion.
Okay.
Each of these other layers is potentially a different world. And Tarin's getting kind of a crazed look in his eyes as he's talking about this. And then out here, outside of the onion, that's the interesting stuff. This is where things that are hard to describe to a three-dimensional world, because this layer, this is actually an
But the
entire
point is,
world.
and I'm trying to like shush him out. But as you can see, that's what we mean by worlds, at least as far as I understand it.
Now,
So whatever
Eldove.
the necromancer did, he managed to pierce through this layer of the onion, and I'll just kind of stab through it with the point of my sword into the next and carry the entire ship across.
Eldove,
Yeah.
you and Arik, and Khalil, the three of you, like you've been with this group long enough that you have some conception that they're not from here. But this talk of there being many worlds that you can travel between them, this is utterly alien to you. None of you have ever heard of, say, magical teleportation to other planes, gates to other planes, spell jamming ships, anything of this nature. As far as the three of you are concerned, there is Trennis, and Trennis is the known world, and that's it. So, the story he's saying now...
Not me. I mean, I've had this discussion with them.
Well, I guess my question would be, like, how much of it do you believe?
I don't believe a goddamn lick of it.
And neither does Poem, is the sense you're getting.
Yes.
As Tarin is getting more and more crazed carving up this onion with this pretty, like, diabolical-looking sword, like, covered in tentacles and stuff. So Poem says...
And to punctuate my point at the end of the story, I will let go of the sword and let it vanish into the non-dimensional space that my packed weapon goes to.
And Poem says, so, do you come from the realm of the gods?
No, we come from this onion, see? Slice of the onion aside from the one I pulled out to illustrate their world.
That's not right. That's not
I
okay.
just shake my head. This whole thing, this story has gotten away from me.
She looks more confused than ever.
Khalil is going to walk out at this point.
So
Khalil,
wait, did your
watch
plane
out.
get destroyed with a giant fork, or...?
What do you do with the onion now that you've carved it up all over the place? Everybody make a Constitution save.
I'll just put the pieces back on the plate and
DC 10.
Zook included, or because I wasn't in the.
Alright,
Zook's
save,
not there, so
fail.
no.
Or
Saved.
Succeed.
I fail.
Fail.
Tarin gets a natural 20.
Wait,
Everybody who fail is blinded because the onion fumes are causing your tears and your tear ducts to go into overdrive. And
I walk out
it
then.
stings like a bitch.
The dumbest thing we've done so
Especially-
far.
Especially since the story sounds so fucking absurd to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, nope.
No, I say
I'm
no.
an elf. I can't be blinded.
We're not
by
from the
magical
realm of the
onions.
gods.
And Poem shakes
just
her
not-
head. She's, well, I'm
just
afraid
not
I don't
from
understand.
Romneus.
Well, she's, I'm not from Romneus either.
Oh,
But-
that's right.
There,
What's that
there,
in this world?
Tetraveus.
there are
Which is-
3 trines. They're called trines. There's Romneus, which is the trine of sand. There is Tetluteus, which is the trine of stone. And there is Aqueus, which is the trine of water. And as you move out from the center of the world, Romneus is said to end in a wall of fire. Tetluteus is said to end in a wall of stone. And Aqueus is said to end in a wall of ice. And nobody has ever been beyond these walls.
And what's the name of the world? in general?
Oh!
Trennis is the name of the known
yeah,
world.
so we're just not from Trennis, is the important thing.
Which is, well, that's why I asked. The realm of the gods. Like, she's just not getting it.
Yeah.
Very much not. She's intrigued, but she doesn't believe you. Like, she at this point, she kind of is starting to joke with you a little bit. Like, she's starting to kind of make mock of you a little bit.
Yeah. I'll just shrug off the whole subject and say, anyway, the point is, we came here much like you to speak with the Udocs.
She nods a little bit,
But we were turned away at their gates.
but she says, and she kind of leans in towards you and whispers. She says, I would speak to Rolxes first, if you have a mind to.
Alright, I nod and say, I'll do that then. Thank you for the advice.
Zook!
Yeah.
Where do you go after the store, man?
Well, okay, so when we came into town, is this a pretty sleepy village? Is there like a city center or
No, this
anything
is
of like?
this is a small hamlet of about 200 people. Almost everybody here is owned by the Udocs. Most everybody here are slaves.
So Zook's thinking he's not going to have like any luck keeping his ear to the ground for fun information. So Zook's going to go in kind of a different direction.
Let me ask
'Cause
this
Zook-
though:
Yes.
you have that Guild of Shadows patch. Are you still keeping that under wraps?
Oh yeah, no, that's absolutely under wraps. The only reason he would flash that is if he had any reason to believe the person may be legit.
Okay.
You know.
Gotcha.
So now he would probably slip like some thieves' cant in the conversation if he was having idle conversation, just to see if he was getting any whiff of fellow thief.
Okay.
But barring that, the other thing Zook is thinking is he's a forest gnome,
Yes.
so he's been around rivers before.
Yes.
So he knows rivers do not just come out of goddamn holes in the mound in the wall.
They do not.
So he wants to kind of go. He's not going in here because God only knows what's in there. But he's going to this mound and kind of looking around at like, where the hell is this water coming from?
The water goes in underneath the hill, and there is no going into the hill specifically because it is barred. When you approach the entrance to what would be the cavern going inside of the hill, you see a thick iron door set into the hillside that bars entrance into the cavern. And you see that it's locked with a pretty heavy-duty iron lock.
Heavy-duty lock, he says. Are there any sign of guards?
No. No, I mean, when you come up here, you're kind of a ways from the village. It's nice and quiet out here. You're pretty isolated. You passed a few children playing in the field on the way over. And this is the first time in your travels through Amneas that you've seen, like, honest to goodness, like a grassy area. It's still very hot and very humid, but you've left the desert behind for the time being.
Yeah, I mean, it's very oasis-y, right?
Yeah.
Is what I'm gathering. Just confusing the hell out of Zook, and he's not really sure what to make of it. The iron can Zook get to those iron bars, or are they like in the water?
No, you just walk right up to them. And it's not iron bars; it's a thick iron door that bars the way. Bars was the verb, but I mean, you would have to unlock this door with. It looks like it takes 2 keys, and then it would open up.
It's still daytime right now.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's starting to go in the early evening.
Well, I'm certainly not going to break in there in the middle of the day. So I would probably go back to the inn for dinner, and then maybe go back out at night because I'm very curious about that area.
Who else has actions before dinner? Who else wanted to do something before the evening meal and going into nighttime?
I did want to visit Roxy's before.
Okay.
Before the Udax show up at the inn, because they said that they were going to meet us there later.
No, they said they were going to send word for you.
Yeah, they said they would send word for us later.
The master does not go into the inn.
Tarin would actually like to talk to Oam at some point.
Okay, well, she's right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about Eldove? I just want to go down the list real quick. I want to get everybody's actions for the evening. Eldove?
Eldove doesn't have any real plans.
Okay, so hang out at the inn?
He'll probably hang out with Tarin talking to Poem, because she seems kind of interesting.
Khalil?
Khalil will step out for a little while and then realize, you know what? Whatever, there's nothing else for me to do on that, and he'll head back in once the bullshit stories have subsided.
Okay.
You can never be certain the bullshit stories have subsided.
And Arik?
Same as Khalil. Bullshit stories will probably stop. I'm probably under control.
Okay.
Go back into the inn.
So what is it you wanted to talk to Poem about?
So you're a priest of the god of knowledge here, correct?
She nods.
Do you maintain the local library, or what do you do in the town? What's the spot you found for yourself?
She chuckles and says, library. She says, no, I cast low-level spells, incantations. In addition to being a priest of the revered Bokum, I am I practice conjuration magic.
Oh, excellent. What can you tell me about the cosmology of this world?
And she doesn't understand the word cosmology.
The
Do
relative
you know
local planar
identify?
makeup.
You ask if she knows identify?
Yes.
She nods.
The dimensional space boundaries within a 6-dimensional sphere.
So I think
We
you've had
found
too
a
much to drink,
sphere.
love.
Here are the boundaries of the 6-dimensional. I'll look at Arik and say, apparently the bullshit stories haven't stopped yet.
Tarin's
So-
just gonna slump back in his seat and order another beer when she doesn't give him anything. Where is the greatest temple land or library Bokob then in the world?
She thinks for a moment. She says, in Ramneas, your best bet would be to check in Kiska, the great library
Well, I
there.
mean, I've got a ship. I can go wherever I want.
She says, well, if it's books you're after, that's where I'd go. If I had a mind to study. She says, I've spent much of my time there as well. It's a great place. You can while away the weeks in all kinds of different avenues of research.
Oh shit.
Interesting. That's it. That's all Tarin wanted to do.
Okay, let me do some quick calculations real quick. Identify
You did
first
just
level,
say-
right?
Yes, she did just say Kiska, right? You cut out for like one.
No, yeah, she
second.
said the Great
The
Library
Great
in
Library.
Kiska.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, the place we just left.
Yeah.
The place that you got so tired of.
Well, to be fair, they were sending guards after us.
She can cast the Identify spell for 200 gold pieces. That's her fee.
Good heavens.
That's a discount,
It was 150 in Kiska.
because you hired a lower level spellcaster. She's a level 3 spellcaster. Technically,
She's too rich for our blood.
she's a level 6 spellcaster.
Yeah, that's actually a good discount if she's a third.
She's Wizard 3, Cleric 3.
Yeah.
That's all you, Captain Tarin?
What do we have? Oh, the halberd.
Yeah, you have the
Yeah, I'll pay her to identify the halberd. I'll just take that.
The
with my
one that you
personal money.
handed to Khalil and he never like actually used.
Yeah. I'll say if Khalil came back to the inn, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's back.
Hey, Khalil, let's see that halberd then. Maybe we can find out exactly what the magic is with this thing.
All right.
And should I just mark the gold off? You said it was 200.
Well, she accepts the halberd for now.
Okay.
She says, I'll accept payment when I return with it.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, and with that, she takes her leave. She takes the halberd upstairs to her room. While she's gone, one of the other inn patrons returns for the evening. Dour-faced dwarf woman, decked out in plate armor. She has a warhammer strapped to her back. Stomps into the room, looks over at the keeper of the inn, nods once, sits down, waits for her meal to be presented, looks over at the lot of you, regards you for a few moments, and then just turns away. Orphan.
Mm-hmm.
You walk up the forest path,
All right.
and you see a little cottage, and in front of the cottage is a man with the same coloration as the Udox. But he looks more like worn. It looks like he's not dressed in finery like the Udox that you've met. And he's actually throwing knives at a tree, hitting a target, and going and retrieving them and coming back. And this man also has a tail.